So when you were saying that Han Solo, like the Disney Star Wars treating Han Solo like a deadbeat dad and an idiot, and Leia being treated like an idiot, how is that exactly activism as opposed to, say, bad storytelling?
Well, I mean, that's a good question. I think it's a very good question. But these are supposed to be professional, creative people. Now, I'll agree with your statement earlier that Rian Johnson is a lesser filmmaker. Absolutely. He is a lesser filmmaker. But I don't think that's behind it. For one, it was marketing. They were clickbaiting the public because they wanted to focus on one legacy character per film to try to stretch that out. But to not put Han, Luke, and Leia in a scene together, I can't even think that Jar Jar Abrams or Rian Johnson wouldn't think about that for a moment. And I think what's behind that was trying to prop up their character, Rey. And why did they want this female character to? The only way they can do that inherently is sexism. They have to diminish the male characters. I bypassed the compressor. I mean, you got to be kidding me with that line. So it is their political motivation that feeds these horrific creative decisions. And yeah, you can couple that with some pretty awful writing. I think it's pretty well established that Rian Johnson runs the school of dumb filmmaking to make certain people think they're smart. And Jar Jar Abrams is just an absolute fraud. But to not put them in a scene together, to not make Han Solo heroic, why do you need to diminish him, have him regress back to before he was in the beginning of Star Wars, leave Leia after their son goes to the dark side to some guy named Snoke who ended up just being a clone because somehow Palpatine came back. Yeah. I can't help but think that is a politically motivated decision by intersectional feminism, because we need to make the women look more powerful. And the only way, according to Hollywood, these are not my words, women can look more powerful is by diminishing men and having them act like men.
Mr. Buechler, I appreciate your passion response. However, aside from the name dropping of intersectionality and activism, you still didn't answer my question exactly. How is it activism as opposed to, say, bad storytelling or just bad narrative decisions?
Kathleen Kennedy stated the Force is female, announcing that she's going to be, and this is going to be an intersectional feminist Disney Star Wars, which it has been.
That has been debunked in an earlier trial where that was an actual Nike advertising slogan that was presented at the school that Kathleen Kennedy's kid was going to during a
Oh, so you're saying the Force isn't female. You're saying they haven't diminished male characters systematically throughout the entire run of Disney.
Well, no, and this is the big failing of the defense is they haven't named one positive masculine figure in the entire series. They can't name one. Tobias Beckett, who he couldn't even name. He couldn't even name the character, and everyone furiously Googled it afterwards, in order to be able to find it. Right? Couldn't even name one positive masculine character because exactly what you said. They have to emasculate the men in order to rise everybody else up.
Mr. Andrew, for Mr. Legal Mindset.
Yes.
How does if we're admitting that, okay, these films...
Can you Mr. Monkey King, are you conceding that you cannot name one positive masculine non-villain character in all of the
It's irrelevant.
It is completely irrelevant because Star Wars is on trial. This is not a trial about your feelings. This is not about a trial about other movies. This is not a trial about employees. It's a trial about Star Wars itself. It's relevant to Star Wars. Anything you have to say outside of Star Wars is completely irrelevant. Right? What happens in a boardroom in a Nike commercial doesn't matter. Nike's a woke corporation which will fail anyways on their own. They're doing a fine job of that on their own. This is about Star Wars and the people who care about Star Wars. Not people who care about just do it.
If we already agreed that Star Wars, the Disney Star Wars, is bad storytelling, then your point about having us list an arbitrary character who
arbitrary, a main character, sir, a main character.
You actually said a character, sir.
Yeah,
so
you can't even find A. You can't even find A. That's even more pathetic that you can't even find a character.
Arguably the most popular character in Star Wars, Han Solo. So All right, so we take Han and we make him a bad dad, just like he was in Blade Runner 2049, just like he was in Indiana Jones. Okay, you do it once. Then the next movie, you did the same damn thing to Luke Skywalker. This stops being, well, this is just bad writing. This has to come from somewhere. And we do know that while Rian Johnson took full credit for writing The Last Jedi, he didn't write it by himself. He had a lot of help by the very activist Lucasfilm story group, who has made no secret of their activism and using Star Wars for activism. And we've seen this time and time again. So it stops being an accident at that point. Yeah, it's all circumstantial evidence. But I think I have a lot more circumstantial evidence that the Force is fucking female in Disney Star Wars.
Let's have a just very quickly. Just need to interrupt everyone. We just received a series of super chats. Shocked to see Kathleen Kennedy, who says Star Wars no longer belongs to the toxic little man babies. It belongs to me. I own it. All must bow to me. Star Wars is mine, and I'll destroy it if I want to. Thank you, Miss Kennedy, for your $9.
Case closed, Your Honor.
Let's have a quick hypothetical real quick, because authors write what they know, right? So what's the hardest thing that these writers have gone through? Their dad's leaving. So they left them, and now they're writing about it. It's their real life experience. All they know is bad dads, okay? Bad dads. Why is that political? They're bad dads, okay? They went out to go get cigarettes because they didn't come back with.
I truly understand why their fathers left.
Yeah. I mean, when you look at that face, you're not coming back with a gallon of milk. No, sir. So why is that political? They're writing what they know, right? Answer me that, Mr. Buechler.
Well, I'm sorry they weren't very good kids and their dad left them and they never came back with that pack of cigarettes. But there still are positive male role models out there, and they are very important for men and women. And to diminish these positive male role models deliberately, when you know financially it's a terrible decision, creatively it's a terrible decision, then the only thing you're left to think is these guys are complete drooling window lickers, which I completely agree with. And they tend to fall back on what they know, what you said, which is activism, which is their politics, which they're absolutely blinded by. And this goes into the bigger picture of Hollywood and how it absolutely shifted out after 2016 and became part of the Great Fortification.
I will say that Windows
we're talking
tastes
about
good.
Star Wars here.
Windows tastes good. You should try it. Give it a lick or two. It might change your perspective. Okay? Windex, the blue stuff, it's amazing. But that does not pull it out how Star Wars has always been political, and now we just don't agree with what the politics are. That's the only shift.
Well, we're conflating this, by the way, erroneous theory that it's always been political and activism. And activism by the employees, activism by Disney, and they have displayed their activism openly by fighting with an entire state, losing their tax status in Florida, one of the greatest gaffes of a company of all time. And hey, I believe taxation is theft. I'm against it, but I'm just sitting here as an observer going, wow, is this good business? And what is driving this good business? Well, it's ESG, it's DIE, it's intersectionalism, it's Marxist beliefs. That is activism, and they are infiltrating everything. I've always said that the bankers who run everything, they're not the ones who even watch their own shit. I doubt anybody on the board has seen an entire Star Wars movie. I doubt they've read Lord of the Rings or any of the EU books or any Indiana Jones book or any Indiana Jones comics. I doubt they give a crap. Where the activism comes in is through HR, through the mid-level management, and they run with fear. So yes, there is a lot of going along to get along. It's still caused by activism.
And this is amongst a period of time in which they said, Disney as a whole wants to have 50% of their characters be people of color, minorities, be represented, right? They want to do this as a drive, right? This representation drive across Disney properties, Marvel, mainstream Disney, Pixar, Lucasfilm. This is just part of an overall arching plan. So it fits, it's consistent, and it's confessed. I mean, it seems like the defense really has aired more of a confession and tried to put on an affirmative defense rather than actually deny that activism was going on.
See, that's why you're the lawyer.
Yeah.
I wish I had you around.
I'm not that type of lawyer, Gary.
You would have been better. You'd have been better than my dump truck.